Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. I've been enjoying my summer break, so apologies for the delayed content lately. It's finally time to finish setting up this 90P aquarium. Last time I set up the ADA substrate system and built the hardscape using forest black wood. Today I'm going to plant this aquarium and set up all the remaining equipment, like the filter and the CO2 system. As with my other aquariums, I will mostly be using ADA tissue culture plants. I really enjoy using them since they're pest-free and always come in really healthy, which ensures that you get the best start possible for your aquarium. Not to mention you get so many more portions per cup than if you were buying, say, a bunch or a potted plant. In my last several build videos, I've begun by filling up the water to the top of the soil level. I found that it makes planting a lot simpler. In the foreground, I will be using Glossostigma elatinoides. This is one of my favorite carpeting plants. I'm still trying to get more practice in growing it, since I used to struggle growing it in the past, before I started using RODI water and ADA fertilization. After the Glossostigma is added, I raise the water level slightly more to prepare for planting the midground. In this layout, I'm trying several new plants that I've never grown before. First, I have Lagenandra meeboldii. This was the only plant in the shipment that really wasn't looking too great when I opened it. I planted what was left of it, hoping it would recover. I also added some Cryptocoryne parva and Ranunculus inundatus. Here's a plant I was really excited to try out. This is Rotala mexicana, which is a shorter growing carpeting plant that will turn reddish. Most of the plants I try to place on both sides of the aquarium. For the background, I've got a large variety of different stem plants. I'm planting Myriophllum guyana as a mid-ground plant. Then I have some Rotala rotundifolia green, which is kind of a total weed. It has a tendency to grow horizontally as much as it grows vertically. These two plants are also added on both sides of the aquarium. In the back right corner, I added Ludwigia arcuata. I previously tried adding this plant to my Mini M aquarium, but it melted away. Unfortunately, this is the same fate for these plants after a few weeks from this filming date. I'm thinking in the future it probably just needs to be added to a more mature layout. Next to it will be Rotala rotundifolia, which is the regular type, so it can get more of an orange or reddish color depending on the conditions. Here is Rotala macrandra green. This is a new plant for me, and I'm excited to see how it grows. Despite its name, it can develop a pinkish color at the tip. Watching me plant is probably not too satisfying right now since they're all tissue cultures and very small at the moment. There's kind of a delayed gratification here. ADA has this new tissue culture called Cryptocoryne spiralis caudigera. It's supposed to grow slender, light green leaves. Unfortunately, like the Ludwigia arcuata, this plant also melted away, so I might consider adding Cypress halferi or perhaps a different taller crypt species instead. The Hygrophila pinnatifida UK is supposed to be the main feature plant for this layout. With that being said, I probably should have ordered more than 2 cups. It definitely wasn't enough, but thankfully once this plant starts sending runners, it can grow really quickly, so I'm sure in the long term it'll fill in really nicely. Besides the Hygrophila pinnatifida, I have some Bucephalandra and Anubias petite planted in the lower portions of the wood. Again, I wish I had way more to use here, but I just used what I had available for the time. Now that I'm finished with planting, I'm going to get the aquarium filled up. While I do that, I can set up the filtration and the CO2 system. So here we have the ADA Superjet ES 900. This is the filter that they recommend most for 90P aquariums. Although the filter comes at a high price tag compared to other options, there are several advantages here. First of all, it comes with everything you would need. This includes their clear hosing, lily pipes, filter media, and cleaning tools. The Iwaki pump is a powerhouse and ensures a really strong flow for your aquarium. One of the negatives of using one in the US is the need for a transformer to change the voltage. Thankfully, Aqua Forest Aquarium includes this in your order. It's not included, but I also added Na carbon for the filtration, which is really helpful in the first several weeks of a new aquarium. I usually add some sponge or filter floss at the top, but I guess I must have just forgotten while I was filming. Each of these filters comes with this little mat. This helps to protect the bottom of the filter and prevent hearing vibrations, keeping the filter really quiet. I always run high door inline heaters in my aquariums. Over the summer it probably won't be on at all, but it comes in handy in the colder months. Unfortunately, due to the design of the filter and the size of the heater, I have to install it on the inflow rather than the outflow, which is kind of against the intended design. But I found that as long as I keep the tubing very clean, there hasn't been any consequences or any change in flow. Speaking of flow, to increase it, the inflow of the ADA filters has a larger tubing than the outflow. For this Superjet ES 900, the inflow is a 16 by 22 millimeter, while the outflow is a 12 by 16 millimeter size. It's tricky cutting the hoses to the exact length. I leave just a bit of extra hosing on the outflow to account for raising the lily pipes during aeration. I made a mistake here in turning on the filter without first washing out the carbon, so I managed to quickly remove the lily pipe and let the water out into a bucket until it started appearing clear. Alright, so now moving on to the CO2 system. I have this standard 5-pound CO2 tank, and I'll be adding an Archaea AccuPro version 2 compact dual gauge CO2 regulator. Originally I added this bubble counter, but I later removed it as it really wasn't necessary. That's because I have this ADA twist counter here. Although it's not quite as amazing as the CO2 beetle counter, it's still really stylish. A bit of a flex and definitely not necessary, but really awesome. Finally, I have the Pollen Glass Beetle 30, which is an ADA CO2 diffuser. I really like this diffuser, it's a classic design. I'm not sure if it's intended to have the suction cups on both sides so it can be placed in the corner of the aquarium, but I always opt to leave one side on and just place it on the side of the aquarium instead. So here's how the aquarium looks after just a few weeks. I've been doing daily water changes for the first week and then switched to every other day water changes for the next 2 or 3. At first there was a lot of plant melt, but overall it's been growing really well. I'll be posting follow-up videos on this aquarium and the others in my gallery. So if you want to check those out, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.